Each year we invite an athlete to come on stage to represent all of the athletes here tonight. Here representing all of the athletes tonight is our NCS Baseball Player of the Year, Brett Hansen from Foothill High School. Brett.
Good evening. This has been an amazing night that we have all had tonight, and speaking for myself, it's been an honor to be here. Let's just all take a moment right now to thank Robert Braunstein, the entire Cal High sports staff, and all the sponsors for putting on such an amazing event. It's been a night to never forget. We are all here because Cal High Sports saw something special in each one of us. It's been a great honor for me because I've had Cal High Sports at a few of our games, and it's been so cool to see my teammates and myself on TV Sunday night, even if we won or we lost. It's also equally as fun seeing Mr. Braunstein lugging around that ginormous camera for hours filming our games. His traps and deltoids must be ripped. Cal High Sports does a lot for the athletes they see. In my case last year, they were at our rivalry game against Amador Valley. I did pretty well in that game and got to speak to Taylor Lambert, who was filming. Little did I know that the biggest thing to come out of that interview was the handshake at the end. On the video of the game, Mr. Lambert said that when you shook my hand, and I quote, "It felt like you were shaking a 24-ounce porterhouse steak." From there on out, I've had the nickname Porterhouse from a few of my friends at school, and Porterhouse has been my contact name in my mom's phone ever since. As athletes, we all need to be persistent in our work and keep moving forward. Currently, I'm very fortunate and blessed to be committed to play baseball at Vanderbilt University in Nashville. However, I kind of got there in a roundabout way. At this time last year, I was Brett Hansen, Stanford baseball commit. That's who I was, and that's how I identified myself. I was going to be a part of the Cardinal. A few months passed, and in September, I got notified by Coach Esker that I was not admitted into the school. It was devastating for me. I had a few of my friends that I played with all summer long that were going to Stanford as well, and a few of them who got in had worse grades than I did. We received no answer from admissions as to why I did not get in. All they said was that I just didn't. This was my dream since I was 8 years old, and it was within my grasp, and suddenly it was gone without any explanation. I was absolutely heartbroken. Each one of us faces trials and challenges and obstacles in our lives, and it's how we deal with those challenges that defines us. I'm truly inspired tonight by all these athletes dealing with their trials, and it makes me realize that my issue isn't that big. I'd like to give an example. At the age of 14, Michael Dowling fell from the back of a wagon in a blizzard. Before his parents realized it, he had been severely frostbitten. Both of his legs had to be amputated, one at the hip and the other at the knee. His right arm and his left hand were amputated as well. Not much future for a young man like that. Well, in such a state, he went to the Board of County Commissioners and told them that if they would educate him, he would pay them back in full. Years later, during World War II, Mr. Dowling went to Europe to visit wounded soldiers. Standing in a hotel, he spoke to a large group of bedridden soldiers that had lost an eye, a leg, an arm, etc. He began to minimize the seriousness of their wounds, and the soldiers were getting upset. In fact, they began to boo him. In response, Michael began to walk towards them, telling them to set high goals for themselves and to not feel sorry for themselves. The enraged soldiers began yelling obscenities at him. Finally, Michael sat down on a chair and took off his right leg. The soldiers calmed a bit, but they still resented him. Then he took off his left leg. The booing stopped, but Michael didn't. He took off his right arm, flipped off his left hand, and there he sat, a stump of a body. Now that he had their attention, Mr. Dowling delivered a speech on taking personal responsibility for your success. You see, Michael Dowling had become the president of one of the largest banks in Minnesota. He was a father of 5, and he was U.S. Chamber of Commerce Man of the Year. Thankfully, we will most likely never have to deal with the challenges this man faced, but we will all face challenges that seem overwhelming. Playing for Stanford, or not playing for Stanford, was a huge challenge for me. By then, college scholarships and future team rosters had been pretty much filled, and I felt completely lost. I wasn't quite sure who I was and what path I would take, and I eventually reached a point where I could either keep being sad and keep feeling sorry for myself and not change anything, or I could pick my head up and try to find the next step. Like all of us tonight who compete in sports, we at times have to reach deep from within us to achieve the best versions of ourselves. As you know, it's not easy, and at times it's flat out painful. I had no idea what was in store for me in the future, but I've been taught that if I worked hard as I could, trust in God, and be kind to those around me, good things would happen. For 7 months straight, that's what I tried to do. My mom and dad asked me one day, what would be the one school that I thought would be better than Stanford? And immediately, the first school that came to mind was Vanderbilt. For me, they are what Alabama is to college football, what Duke is to college basketball, and what MIT is to math. We made a visit to the school and felt an incredible connection to the players and the coaching staff. I wanted to be there more than anything, and through a series of events, what I saw as miraculous, I'm now committed to play baseball at Vanderbilt. In a strange way, being rejected by Stanford, what was an enormous challenge for me, has now been a huge blessing in my life. It's a blessing to have this life and to be blessed with opportunities and talents to play sports. I realized that the best way to influence other people's lives is just being a kind person to those around you. Using your talent to bless other people's lives, to build other people up. That's what's truly important. We've all been given gifts. It's what we do with our gifts is what makes us who we are. It's our obligation as athletes to try and influence others positively through sports. That's what Cal High Sports does for us. Cal High Sports brings people together and makes playing high school sports incredibly fun. I know it brings my teammates and my family together. I challenge all of us, students and parents, to view obstacles as stepping stones, to be kind, and to make an effort to lift the lives of those around you. Cal High Sports, Mr. Braunstein, thank you for providing us with an incredible night. Thank you.